David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience, welcome back. You know what we're here for. We are talking to people in the Bond community, and I'm extremely excited. Let me tell you why I'm excited first, before I even introduce this gentleman. I found a home, and I don't hesitate to say that, a long time ago, called AJB. This is a forum, and there are lots of forums out there. There wasn't so many back when AJB started. But AJB is a place, and the reason I call it a home is because the personalities, the people there, are probably a little bit more like family than they are screen names. And one of the individuals who have really held that up in a really supportive way has done tireless amount of work. He's going to be super humble about it, but we're going to try to pull some stories out of him, is Barbel. And Barbel, thank you so much for joining us.
A pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I wouldn't think of it otherwise. In fact, for a long time, I wanted to do one of these Bond community discussions on AJB and really highlight it. And I think you're an incredible spokesperson for it because, quite frankly, you've been around AJB for a long time, haven't you?
Oh, about 15 years now. That's 15 of the 20 years that AJB has been around.
Oh, my gosh. All right. So we've got to start with some basics for people watching this, because some people are like, AJB. What is AJB?
AJB stands for Absolutely James Bond. To be formal, Absolutely James Bond 007. But for convenience, we refer to it as AJB.
Right.
Founded back in the late 90s by a wonderful person known by the screen name Psycho. That's S-I-C-O.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be using screen names for at least most of this.
Absolutely. It's a great way to recognize people too, as well.
That's true. If people look up, they will only see the screen name.
That's right.
Psycho founded AJB, not in its current format. It has changed format a couple of times over the years.
Right.
It has more or less semi-retired these days. The three people doing most of the heavy lifting are Hardy Boy, Sir Miles, and myself.
That's right.
And you know all of us rather well, do you not?
I do. I know personalities, quirks, lovabilities, the whole nine yards. I mean, but that's what we love about it. I think AJB is, when I say it's a family, you think about your favorite family members, you think of the ones that you have minor wars with. It really has all of that. But so you joined AJB 15 years ago. What did it look like? What was it 15 years ago?
The format was slightly different to how it is now, but not too different. And I believe you joined about 6 months before me.
Did I? Wait, I've been on there for that long?
Is that's news for you, isn't it?
Yeah, I got a lot of gray hair because of that.
You were the mantis in those days.
I was the mantis, that's right.
The format was very similar to what it is just now, but only slightly different. The names have changed over the years. Some people are still there after all this length of time. Some people have gone away. Some people have joined. Some people have done both.
True.
Yeah. It's the people that make it what it is. As you were saying earlier, the characters on there. Mind if I rattle off a few names?
No, please do. Call them out.
Well, these are screen names. I'm going to mention Thunder Pussy, who acts very much as a court jester.
Yes.
Keeps us all amused. There's wonderful people like Charmed and Dangerous. Number 24. And Higgins.
It's always and Higgins, which is hysterical. And Higgins I've met him in person with his wonderful wife. He's the nicest guy in the world. It's so funny how he allows everybody to take the mickey out of him. It's so fun.
I met him in Berlin about 6 months ago. He's a wonderful chap. We had a few drinks and a meal together. We had a great time. Yeah. And immediately went back to our computers and started insulting each other.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is AJB. I mean,
in a nutshell.
It is, in a nutshell. It's so funny, too, because what I love about it, and if you haven't explored AJB, you should really begin, because there are moderators. Yes, there are administrators, there's quartermasters, there's all these roles and responsibilities of people to keep and a semblance of order, but we don't want to create too much order. We want people to make it very authentic. And I think that was the charge of your role, really.
light touch, trying to keep out of things as much as possible.
Right.
One area I keep out of more or less 100% is memorabilia, which
Mm.
it's not my field. I know very little about it, and I think the best chap to ask about that would be yourself or Sir Miles. But
Yeah,
it's not my field. But that's one of the most popular and burgeoning areas of the site. It
it's
gets an
true.
awful lot of traffic. I know that.
Yeah, it's interesting too because, and this might be a little bit of a controversial subject, but let's get right into it. It seems that in the last 15 plus years, certainly that you and I have been on, things have evolved. It was not always merchandise and clothing and
Yeah.
things like that heavy. It was more about literary and bond. And why do you think it's evolved in this direction?
I think that goes with demographics and the way the films themselves have evolved.
Mm,
There's very few of the generation left who came to the films via the books. I'm one of them. I'm a second generation Bond fan, not a first generation Bond fan. I'm in my early 60s. To be a first generation Bond fan, you'd need to be in your 70s at least to have read the books first before seeing the films.
right.
Just the way demographics go. And that's why it's affected the memorabilia sections, because demographics have changed. People are more interested in that sort of thing now than they were, say, 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's incredibly prevalent from a marketing standpoint. I mean, the powers that be, the brands. It was a good discussion on AJB maybe a few weeks ago that said, this whole turning of it was a lot of prop discussion, and now it's a
Yes.
lot of clothing discussion. And I actually came out of the woodwork and said, a part of that is I think you have these personalities that talk about clothing and things like that. Some of the prop people have become a little bit more quiet. Not that I would ever want them to be quiet, but there's fewer that seem to be on the boards.
Yeah, I've noticed that. As I say, it's not my field, but obviously you have a look in every now and again because some interesting stuff does turn up. Some of the prop guys have produced some marvelous stuff.
Amazing.
I can't tell the difference.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Clothing guys like yourself, now, no harm to you. I have absolutely no interest in clothes, whether for myself or James Bond. The most I'll do watching a James Bond film is say, oh, he's wearing a nice suit, and then carry on.
Exactly.
Some people would go and find out where that suit was made, who made it, where to buy the expensive version, where to buy the cheaper version, and then advise others on the subject. Who could I be talking about here?
I have no idea. I have
No idea.
He's not here, that's for sure. I tell you, but that's one of the things I really gravitate back to AJB, and there may be other forums that are doing it as well. I just haven't seen it where AJB is almost like the Statue of Liberty. Give us your tired, your weak, your poor. It's everybody is welcome. Even people that want to talk about butt plugs, for a little bit. You can really conversation about anything.
I hadn't quite thought of it in those terms, but it's
Nobody
true.
has.
We have what, somewhere between 14 and 15,000 members.
I didn't know that.
Yes, there are other larger sites, but we're a friendly bunch, and as you correctly say, we welcome people with open arms.
Yeah, truly. And even with, I keep referring to this as a family, there are those small little squabbles. They seem to be very short-lived, and then everybody patches themselves, lick their wounds, have a beer, and kind of move on.
That's it. We have a beer in the Silencer and Brasstrap, our virtual pub on site. The squabbles tend to be in our political threads, and to be honest, I'm finding I've just about had enough of those.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%. I actually said something the other day where I'm like, this is a James Bond site. This is our escape valve from real life. And yet we have the most volatile topic of conversation. Next, should we put religion up there? I mean,
No.
I know, right. It's so volatile. I don't know the reason why it exists, but things change.
It exists because some people asked for it.
Okay. Well,
but it's closed at the moment, and I don't see it opening for the foreseeable, which is a shame because there are a lot of interesting things going on in politics just now.
Sure.
It's the UK politics thread, But we've had one in the US politics scene as well, although that had to get closed for similar reasons.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. All right. So in your role, you've seen and heard probably every complaint and every story imaginable. So I've got two questions. They're very related to each other. Number one, you're surrounded, the very nature of what you do, by the Bond community. What do you love about the Bond community?
Fraternity. There are always people you can talk to on your own level. And you don't have to explain the situation first. Example, Calvin. Calvin Dyson.
Yep.
I can send Calvin a message without any introduction and he'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And vice versa.
It's true.
Yeah. And he's not even a member of AJB.
He's not a member?
No.
How dare he?
It's just terrible. I should specifically invite him. We've got yourself, we've got Dutch Bond fan, we've got various other ones.
Yeah.
He should be there.
Absolutely. I bet
you were talking about the community in general. People you can talk to on your own level.
Yeah. Yeah. I would absolutely agree.
Thunder Pussy put it nicely. Often you find people who are the biggest Bond fan in their village or town. And then they join a site like ours and realise, there are people there who are a lot more obsessed about it and know a lot about certain factors.
Well, it's funny. There was a very, very good series. If people are watching this, I'll put a link in the bottom where you and others have started an interview series on AJB where people. I mean, it's not just influencers. I mean, you have authors, and it's really amazing what you're doing. But one of the things I did in my video was somebody said, "Hey, talk to my wife and tell her that I'm pretty normal compared to other things." And
I know who that was.
Yeah, yes, you do. Yes, you do. And I hope I performed an adequate service for that individual. But to your point, everybody that really follows Bond is the most Bond aficionado in their life. And to your point, there's almost a normalization or a clarification once they come to AJB and surround themselves with other people, which is great.
Yes, and every one of us has our own specialist area of expertise. We've discussed yours.
Yep.
Clothing and videos, I suppose. Mine is music.
Yep.
Others are literature, and so forth and so on.
Yeah. It is great. Everybody brings something to the table. All right, that's the good part. That's the happy part. Everybody's smiling watching this. Now we're going to turn it a little bit.
Watches the screen dubiously.
Exactly. Just so what grinds your gears? I mean, what just makes you go like this and go, really? Are you serious? What are those aspects of the Bond community?
On our site, circular arguments that go nowhere. When it just all goes round and round, and no one will back an inch or see the other person's point of view. Yeah. I find myself very often in the role of mediator there.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, I was doing that just yesterday.
Oh, no kidding.
But we'll not go into that.
No, we won't. No, we won't. It's interesting. I've seen a couple of strange arguments that just don't seem to have any merit that they should be at basis of an argument. I mean, there's, again, I'll keep it a little bit nebulous like you're doing. There's an individual who's really tracking the filming and has some theories. I mean, we all have theories, and theories are fun. They're not harmful. But people are just ripping off this person's head left and right, almost like a how dare you moment. And it's like, really? I mean, aren't we all theorizing?
I'm aware of this.
Yes. Yep. Well, there's not much you're not aware of, I would imagine.
Well, I tend not to look in the spoiler thread.
Very smart man.
I'm only going in there if I get called in, because in the past, I remember I have been watching Bond movies for a long, long time. I've had my experience spoiled by knowing too much before I go in. You've done the same yourself?
I have, absolutely.
So I'm trying to walk about like the monkeys with that. You can't help but pick up stuff, but I'm trying to pick up as little as I can get away with. so that when I do go and see the film for the first time, I'm pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. Can I ask what the first film you saw in the theater is?
Goldfinger.
Goldfinger. That's fantastic.
Goldfinger was the first one I saw, and that would be, it wasn't on first release, it would be maybe 65. I thoroughly enjoyed it, obviously.
Yeah.
The music took me away to another world. And in 66, my grandfather died and left me his books, which had the more or less complete Ian Fleming.
Oh my gosh.
And I read them. I was only a small boy at the time, and I didn't understand all the details and implications of the books, but I still thoroughly enjoyed them. Over the years, I've gotten to understand all the bits and pieces. I've still got some of my grandfather's books. I replaced some of the other ones. Hold on. There you go. One first edition of OHMSS.
Wow. Beautiful.
Plenty others there as well. So I inherited my grandfather's books, and I've refreshed them somewhat over the years and bumped up the number of first editions.
Mm-hmm.
And this would be in the mid-60s. After seeing Goldfinger, I caught the rest of the films, Dr. No, From Russia with Love, and then Thunderball, on double bills. We had double bills then, all the time.
Right.
Yeah. So you'd see, say, Dr. No and Thunderball on a double bill.
Right.
Then the next week I'd go back to another double bill, and it would be From Russia with Love and Thunderball. Oh no, I have to sit through Thunderball twice. What a tragedy. And from that point, I've seen them all in the cinema on the first run.
Oh my gosh, that's unbelievable.
From roughly The Man with the Golden Gun onwards, I've seen a bunch of them at their Scottish premiere.
Oh wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Not everyone, just owing to circumstance, but a bunch of them. And not the London premiere, sadly. That was just time, circumstances, money, and so forth.
Right, right. So I have to ask, I mean, you know, clearly you've been a Bond fan from the inception of you pretty much. Has it ever waned? Have you ever had a period of your life where it's like, meh, Bond, or has it just been a steady stream of like, this is me?
The only time it waned a little was in the interregnum between Timothy Dalton and Pierce Brosnan, the 6-year gap.
Yeah.
When you're waiting, nothing is happening. I wouldn't say it went away, because I was reading the John Gardner books at this point. So there was still something happening.
Right.
But like everyone else, just waiting for the next film. In fact, pretty much what all of us have been doing the last 5 years or so, just waiting for the next film.
That's right. Trying to absorb whatever content we can find. I mean, we're lucky now in the sense we have the internet, so it's not just books. But
yes.
You know, back then we had magazines and books, and that's pretty much all we had.
Yes, the information wasn't as freely available back then. You weren't even sure if there was going to be another James Bond film.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, it's so funny. I tell my kids, and sometimes it's hard to translate this adequately, but I said I had to wait until like Starlog magazine or some sort of movie magazine would come
Similar
out,
magazine, yes.
and hoping and praying that there was something James Bond related in there, not having any kind of preview of what the contents were going to be, and that's how I got my information. It was crazy.
Nowadays, 2 clicks and you can find out more or less anything you want to know.
Exactly. And then 10 years from now, it'll be no clicks. It'll be wired to our heads. It'll be disgusting. So your passion for Bond is so clear and so obvious to everybody watching this. Yeah. Is that why you do AJB? Because less people think this is not your job.
No. Well, I don't have a job anymore. Basically, I'm retired now. I spent the last 15 years as a working musician, so that still left me plenty of time for doing AJB. AJB itself goes through peaks and troughs. When there's a new movie on the way, more members come in, they get, activity goes up. In between films, if there's a long gap, it dies off a bit. But exactly as you would expect. One's own personal interest does the same. My peak of interest would probably be, strangely enough, considering what I've been telling you, around about the late 90s and early 2000s.
Okay.
The reason for that being that, how much can I give away here? I was involved in a court case over James Bond. It was the second court case I've worked on over James Bond. And
wow.
I was employed as a researcher and had to work on things that I would have done anyway for pleasure, if that makes sense to you.
Yes,
I can't give away too much.
I understand. And that was your second situation
Second
with
situation with that, yes.
In court. Wow.
I did not actually go to court.
Right. You were doing research for it.
Yeah. I was to go to court in the first case, but they ended up settling out of court, so I didn't have to. And the second one, I was never going to. I was only a researcher. And as I say, I cannot give anything away about the case itself, but let me give you a clue.
Okay, got it. Wow. By the way, I love that you're so into music and you actually gave me an audio cue. That was very classy, sir. Very classy. Wait, so you know what? You're evoking a question now that I have to ask, and I didn't even have it in my questions. AJB is a very public forum, to your point, 15,000 people, tons of images every single day, tons of data. Has there ever been a legal issue with AJB, either with the distributors, the Eon, anybody?
Yes, there have been, and it was with Eon themselves, and it was twice, if I recall correctly, but that was before my time. And it involved people leaking screenplays online, which Eon is not very keen on.
No.
And they had to be, shall we say, redacted.
Yeah.
Apologies made and promises that it wouldn't happen again.
Yeah, that's understandable. It's got to be a
understandable
too, because I mean, look, there's a spoiler thread on AJB right this very second, where probably right this very second somebody's putting a video or somebody's putting an image, and that does grind Eon's gears. So I mean, how fine of a line is it to what can be discussed and put on there and what can't be? I mean, screenplay is obviously verboten, but is that where the line is drawn? You
can do video of things that are happening in public places. Mm-hmm. You've done it yourself.
I have.
I'm sitting here talking to a man who was bid Good Morning by Daniel Craig.
Yes, that is true. That is true.
Yes. You can do it in a public place.
Right.
Obviously, you can't go into Pinewood Studios and snap what's going on there.
That's right, or go into a bathroom.
If you're shooting in a public place, you're entitled to take photographs of it.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, you're right, because a screenplay, if you acquired a screenplay, you've done it through some ill-gotten gain, something of obviously a coercive moment. So yeah, it's relatively clear for sure. All right, so let's play a game. And okay. Since we brought up the name Eon, I have to ask this of you, and I've actually been looking forward to your answer. You've been working tirelessly for 15 years. Again, this is passion for you to do this with AJB. People know you, they adore you, but you don't do it for any kind of adoration.
They don't love and adore me personally. They love and adore AJB.
I think you're wrong. I'm gonna respectfully disagree with you. I think that there is reputation of certain individuals, and I know the reputation of you is very fair-handed. You have a good time with people. You're not overly righteous either, which I think people really respect. But here we go. Let's say somebody at a senior level at Eon noticed this and said, AJB is really helping to support us even in the quiet times. We're going to give something back to the people over there. And you know what? We're going to choose this gentleman, Barbel. And what we want to do is they call you up and you ring and you go, honey, I'll get it. No, I'll get it. You pick up your phone. And it's this person from Eon, and they say, listen, you have been fantastic. We're going to grant you any Bond experience wish. You could interview Daniel Craig. You could be an extra in the new movie. You could be a researcher for us. You could work in one of our offices. There is no limitation to what that experience is. What is the experience that you want?
Well, apart from a 10-year lease of the Aston Martin DB5,
Apart from that,
I would like to work in the music department. I'm a musician.
Mhm.
I would like to work in the music department and, if possible, be involved with the actual scoring. Perhaps play an instrument on one of the tracks, one of the cues for the film. I would
love that.
dearly love to do that.
Wow, that would be fantastic. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that would be a fantasy for anyone.
Oh, God, yes. I play various instruments, and I would just love for David Arnold. I know it isn't David Arnold this time, but I would just love for David Arnold to say to me, "How do you fancy playing a bit of rhythm guitar on this one?" And I would say, "Yes, Mr. Arnold, sir, I will do that."
I think I would, yeah. Oh, that is great. I love it, and it's so different than what anybody's ever answered, so that's fantastic. All right,
Yeah.
we want to talk little bit about the future, because one of the things I've noticed about AJB, although, you know, the template, the look, the format generally stay the same, the people are really what evolve it. But if you had, even from a vision standpoint, certain things that you would want to change about AJB, or it could be things that are going to change about AJB, what would they be? Or maybe there isn't anything at all.
There isn't anything. I'm perfectly happy with the format as it is. As you know, behind the scenes, we have discussed this sort of thing a couple of times, and it always comes back down to we're happy with the existing format.
Yeah.
I would like to have some more members in. I would like some more people there. New blood is always welcome, fresh viewpoints and so forth. And, you know, I started the interview series a while back. That was an attempt to do something different and give us something fresh. That's continuing. I have 2 people who will be being interviewed in the very near future, and I'm not going to give away anything just now.
Ooh, that's a great tease, though. Will we recognize the names, though, when we hear it?
I am not going to say anything.
Good for you. Good for you. So, a new movie is on the horizon. Maybe you've heard, maybe you haven't. I think you've heard.
Just spotted that.
You're a little slow in the uptake with it, right? No. But what are you hoping for this one? I mean, what are the things that you really want to see and experience?
Well, I don't know if it's going to transpire, but I would like to see just one, that isn't personal. Just one where Bond is sent on a normal mission. M says, "Look, there's this bad guy, we want you to investigate him." And it turns out not to be his second cousin twice removed. It turns out not to be someone who's killed his aunt, and so forth. Something without a personal element. Bond films did without personal elements for decades.
Yeah.
And yet it seems that all of Craig's and Brosnan's were starting to do that as well, have all been tainted with this personal element. Sure, you can have one.
Right.
You can have 2 if you like. But now it's becoming all of them.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm nervous, judging by some of the video and the images that we're seeing, that this could be personal. There could be a lot of personal connections in this movie.
Oh, yes. I would just like the slogan to be, James Bond 007 is back. This time it's not personal.
I like that. Kind of an anti-Rambo thing. I like that a lot. Yeah. And by the way, I'm the same way. What did I say the other day? I think it was to Joe Darlington. I was telling him, I said, look, I know they're going to surround it with a lot of things that Fukunaga wants to do, that Craig wants to do. Yeah. But I would just love just a mission. Just put, even in the middle of the movie, just give me just a raw, good old-fashioned mission.
Yes. Yes.
Not hard to please.
And can we also have one where he doesn't go to Italy?
Well, you know that's not going to happen. So.
No.
You know. Listen, this has been amazing. I wanted to do 2 things today on our discussion. I wanted to find out a little bit more about AJB, a little bit more about, telling people about it, but certainly more about you. You are one of these individuals that I've loved talking to that are usually behind the scenes, and which is great. There's nothing wrong with behind the scenes, but your personality, I know, would shine through because your personality on the boards is so robust that it can't help but shine through. So I appreciate that.
David, this has been a sheer pleasure, and I cannot believe our time is up so quickly.
I know. Can you believe it?
Yeah.
And by the way, your Scottish accent was totally fine. Didn't throw me off at all.
I have many German relatives, and I tend to tone down my Scottish accent to speak with them.
Ah, okay. That makes a lot of sense, actually. That's perfect. Well, listen. Yeah, please. What were you going to say?
One more comment. Thank you to all the wonderful people on AJB for making the last 15 years so pleasant for me. You've all been very helpful. And Higgins.
You had to do that. It's like almost in a contract to have to do that.
I have to do that. It's the same as when I'm writing the Adventures of Sir James. You know, if anyone doesn't know AJB, we have a conceit where William Shakespeare wrote the Adventures of James Bond.
That's
so it's
right.
Sir James Bond, not 07. And frequently, a man with red shoes gets killed. No, not red shoes, green shoes.
That's right. Green trainers. Yes.
Green trainers. A man with green trainers gets killed. And that's a little in-joke
I love
for
it.
anyone who knows AJB.
Yeah. People will absolutely enjoy that for sure. All right. This has been Barbel from AJB and David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience, and we will see you all very soon. Take care. Thanks for watching this episode. If you want to be up on the latest from the Bond Experience, just click on this subscribe and subscribe to our channel. You're going to get all the latest and greatest information, plus some exclusive content. And by the way, speaking of content, here's something especially for you, just because we know you. Talk to you soon.